Christopher Nolan is an Anglo-American filmmaker deemed by most critics and viewers as a true master of the craft. His work has revolutionized the way in which films are made and perceived by audiences in the 21st century, paving the way for a new and modern approach to the art of cinema. Indeed, he has proven that high-budget, action-packed blockbusters and individual films can be entertaining and dominate at the box office, while still remaining true thematic and cinematographic masterpieces. His notoriety is both due to his realistic and layered approach to filmmaking, as well as to his innovation and ambition. In 2005, for instance, he completely reinvented the Batman character, and was able to save a franchise which was doomed to end. Joel Schumacher. His most notable works include Memento, The Prestige, The Dark Knight Trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, and Dunkirk, and I will be looking at these films in detail to determine whether or not Christopher Nolan can truly be considered an auteur filmmaker. Nolan's films are all mind-bending, ambiguous, and ingenious, and they all share common characteristics that can be attributed to his perception of the world and his obsession with detail. One of the recurrent techniques he uses in his work is non-linear storytelling. Nolan uses this with the purpose of disorienting his audiences, both through puzzles and mind-bending concepts, which in turn creates suspense as the viewer only knows as much as is shown to them, which is often not very much. In Dunkirk, for instance, he alternates between different locations, these being air, sea, and land, each with its own independent timeline, and then makes these timelines converge at the end of the film. He does this in order to offer the viewer a 360-degree view on the Dunkirk evacuation. Another example of this non-linear storytelling technique is the entirety of the first feature film, Memento. Basically, the movie starts at the end and ends at the beginning, and follows the brain-injured protagonist as he unfolds the mystery behind his wife's murder. The viewer is turned into a detective, which along with the main protagonist unfolds a contorted story. As it is with The Prestige, in this film Nolan deceives the audience from beginning to end, only letting them know as much as necessary and leaving them disoriented in order to then deliver the final plot twist that fits all of the puzzle pieces together. Time is also an essential aspect of Nolan movies. He is fascinated by the construction and manipulation of time. The apotheosis of Nolan's manipulation of time is Inception, which is a film that conceptualizes dreams and the passing of time within the subconscious. The movie follows a group of dream mercenaries, so to speak, that are tasked with entering the subconscious of an heir to a company's empire and planting an idea in his head. They do this through entering different levels of the dream world, until arriving at having a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. We see how the passing of time is different in all of these levels, with 1 hour in the first layer being a week in the second one, and so on. And we are all shown how the characters are affected by it. The concept of time also appears in Interstellar, where Nolan justifies the discrepancy between the passing of time on the protagonist's spaceship and the passing of time on a planet through a real-world physics concept. The aforementioned Memento also uses time, in this case passing in reverse, in order to create suspense and to add more nuances to the story. Another one of Nolan's renowned obsessions is realism. He wants his movies to feel as real as possible, despite the reality-stretching worlds in which they're set in. What made his reboots of the Batman films so remarkable was the dark, gritty realism that came along with them, as if the events that occur in the films could happen in our own world. He reinforces this filmmaking vision by favoring a realistic style, film over digital, real sets over green screen, and practical effects over CGI. In Inception, the spinning hallway scene was actually shot within a real spinning set, which was built appropriately for the scene. Also, in the same film, a dream scene was filmed in the heart of Paris, and in this scene, the world collapses around the characters. As seen in the clip, there was very little CGI involved. Also, in the next clip, is the opening scene of The Dark Knight Rises. What we just saw was a practical effect shot airborne in Scotland over the course of 2 days. Lastly, an example of practical effects being used to a larger scale in his movies is the hospital explosion in The Dark Knight. Yes, he actually blew up a building to film that scene. Nolan is a director whose view of the world is inquiring, looking deeper at the human condition, trusting in the viewer's deeper intuition and subconscious, and challenging the knowledge we take for granted on a daily basis. Through a simple-seeming premise, which could be Inception's World of Dreams or The Prestige's Magician Competition, he draws us into asking larger, daunting questions like, can we trust our own minds? Is there an objective truth out there? And do we even want to accept that truth? Another way to easily spot a Nolan movie is the cast and crew. Yes, Nolan almost always uses the same trusted group of people in order to make these films. Some of these include composer Hans Zimmer and actors Michael Caine, Cillian Murphy, and Marion Cotillard. Despite Nolan's works not being as recognizable as Wes Anderson's typical two-dimensional worlds or as Quentin Tarantino's nostalgic, comedic action-packed films, it is wise to say that beneath the shadows of his almost perfect masterpieces lies the work of a true auteur, recognizable through countless thematics and techniques which make his art so relevant and so influential today. It could be argued that he does not fit the auteur type, as each of his films can seem different from one another at first glance. But after multiple viewings, let me assure you that his original and inimitable style is what makes him one of the few living auteurs.